Marvelous. So, Joe, thank you for joining me. We're gonna get in there hard and fast with why is it important not to be a dick in business, the life, everything.
Totally. Like, what better title could you have for a podcast or YouTuber? I mean, seriously. And I think it's something that we've probably talked about between ourselves,
Yep.
but we both posted about it a couple of weeks ago and we've laughed about it ever since, haven't we?
Absolutely. It's one of my I put a post up about, I think it was posting on social media and GMC rules, which basically boiled down to don't be a dick. Knocked up a little sticker on Canva, and people just flew with it. They were just like, and I think the day before I was annoyed because I got it scheduled. The day before you put this gorgeous picture of like your bookcase with "Don't be a dick" on the top of it, which was just like, yes, and this is why we get on. I thought, right, we need to do a video about this.
Brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it was all in the same week. And I'd been to a friend's house.
Yep.
And it was on her bookshelf. And I was with another friend. And she was like, Joe, have you seen that? You're going to love it. And I turned around, I was like, oh my God, I need that. So yeah, it was the universe telling us to discuss. But I think it's a life affirming lesson, isn't it? Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really why I wanted to sort of drag you on is, one, because I always love chatting to you. And two, it was really that in terms of doctors stepping into business, anyone even considering it, sort of going into the entrepreneurial space, I'll always sort of point them into Joe and sort of your podcast. But I think we need to tackle, because you tackle beautifully this sort of misconception of what a business person is in terms of, and I'm thinking of like The Wolf on Wall Street, The Apprentice, there's sort of these, snazzily dressed, sharp suited people who are just shouting down at other people. And it's like, and now I'm stepping into this space, I've not met anyone like that, really. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Absolutely. And I think it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I think for many of us who are medics with either an entrepreneurial streak or an entrepreneurial habit, whatever you like to call it, like I feel like I've always had that interest in marketing and brand and business. And that interest has been fueled back in the day by Dragon's Den, The Apprentice, etc. And I used to sit there and watch these things thinking, is that really how somebody would talk? Or why is that person so arrogant? Or, what did they think they were doing, answering back to Alan Sugar, whatever it is. You have that perception. And actually, the real life business is about building relationships and about being human. And it's since I've started on my own journey of navigating business and going through various iterations of various things that I've done in my life that I've become more and more human. I'm sitting here with my hair slightly scruffy, having just jumped off another call. I think probably the Joe that started business wouldn't have dreamt that somebody would do that. This is going to be on YouTube and it's going to be out there forever, and I need to show up in a certain way. And I think I remember now when I was doing my granola business right back at the beginning, I had an event in London and I was going to go and meet the producers at Harrods and Fortnum and Mason. And I remember thinking, what am I going to wear? Because that is just not me. I'm not a dressy, suity person. And I need to go and look a certain way and be a certain way when I go into this arena. Now, my retrospective Joe, more experienced business head, looks back on that brand and said that brand was all about lifestyle, being outside, walking up for the beach, having crazy messy hair, giving your kids a good family breakfast and getting out there. It was nothing about being suited and booted. But to go to that event, I felt like I needed to buy myself a dress suit and look a certain way, which is what I did. Now, I would have been much better off turning up in sandals and a pair of board shorts, because that was much more on brand. So we've all made these mistakes, but I've learned along the way with the people that I've surrounded myself by, the kind of advice and mentors that I've had myself, is that business is about building relationships with people. It is about developing relationships, about developing trust, about being human, and that involves not being a dick, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's actually that's the one bits in terms of relationships. So we've known each other. We had a one-to-one call, even just it was a 15-minute discovery call back in November of 2024, where you said, like, Dave, I've reviewed your stuff, and you gave me some. You'd call it sound advice, but I think from sort of a peer to peer, you could have easily said, like, sent me down the wrong way. But you said, no, I can see what you're trying to do. You've got this core, or you've got these set of videos. This could easily be a course, not get rid of those, but hide those away, make a course and market that. And that, I started doing that back in January. We've had 2 iterations of the exam now that it's been, and it's going from strength to strength. Right, it was hosted on Kajabi, so I got a lovely T-shirt saying that I'd hit $1,000, and I was like, "Woo! Thank you very much." And I'll take every. It doesn't fit because they ran out of my size, but it was like, no, I'm going to get the T-shirt anyway. Just have that as a little sort of marker. But it's worked, and it's one of those of sort of like, you've given me advice that was sound. You weren't a dick about it, and I implore anyone who is seeking advice or reading about advice, the not being a dick works on you to actually follow it.
Yeah.
Now that's tricky, and I it's all very good of me just to be quite flippant about it and say do what they say, because I think there's a greater psychological element to it. But I've had it where I've given advice to other people, and you're a bit like, just why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
And you feel a bit put off by it.
Yeah.
And I've had the counter where I've given advice about, generally it would be about YouTube and sort of structuring videos where they followed my advice, and I can see that they followed my advice, and I've said to them, it's like, oh brilliant, yeah, I can see like you've really honed down your introductions, and they're like, yeah, thank you, Dave, that really helpful. But I appreciate though, but getting people to follow advice is really tricky. So yeah. And you will know far more about, because you obviously, as part of your business, you do a lot of coaching or sort of like that. How have you found that in when people don't follow your advice?
Yeah, I think it's really hard because generally we don't really know what's right for somebody else. Everybody has different needs. Everybody has a different way they want to operate, and that's very much where I'm coming from now with all of my coaching. Is actually, what do you want for your life? Like, do you really want to run an online business? Do you want to work school hours? Do you want to work on the weekends? Are you better having your calls at night? Like, what do you want to work for your life, and then building your business around that? So what's right for me is not the same, not the same as what's right for you. But if you're going to go to the trouble of taking 15 minutes or half an hour of somebody's time, and you want to have a discovery call with somebody and you want to get some advice, then if that person is giving you some advice or some pointers, then to go away and ignore that, like, you've just wasted half an hour of your time and half an hour of their time. So that is being a bit of a dick. So I think if you're going to get some advice from somebody, and you're opening your mind to the possibilities of that support and advice, taking action is the next step, isn't it? It's all very well sort of getting that advice, but actually taking the action on that and moving forward, which you did with Bells On. And the vast majority of the people that I work with, I'm not there to say what's right and wrong. I'm there to say, look, if this was me, this would be my next step. I've just had an hour-long conversation with 2 different people with slightly different views over what they should do with their business. But they've employed me to sit there for an hour and listen to them, and then to come up with a plan. I've given them a plan, which is what I would do in that situation. If they choose to take that advice, then great. If they choose not to, then I guess they've made that active decision. They've employed me for an hour and they've moved on. But I think wasting people's time in business is a big one, right? Booking discovery calls. And a discovery call is just basically a way of getting to know somebody a little bit more before you choose to work with them. That's a very expensive use of your time once you get busy, once you have a lot of people coming into your world. So I now have an application form system, because I just can't spend half an hour on the phone with everybody. But if somebody approaches me and I've seen that they're not a dick and they're trying and they're doing a lot of things, I like their vibe and whatever, then I will happily send voice notes, jump on a call, because I'm not in this business for money. And the vast majority of people that I work with are not in this business purely for money. We all need to pay our bills. If we're moving away from medicine, we need to have a plan as to how we're going to do that. Don't get me wrong, but the driving force generally is not financial gain. The driving force is actually serving and helping and supporting people in some way, in the way that only you can. And that's where it comes back to that individual experience. What is your lived experience means you can help somebody better than somebody else. And it's about, it's that concept of serving, not selling, helping, giving value. And if you come from a place of serving rather than selling, then everything else in business starts feeling a bit easier. And I think I see a lot of medics coming into business spaces who are just dreading that sales conversation. Oh, I hate marketing. I can't bear to, therapists, medics. I can't bear the idea of selling myself. And I, joke about it. I'm like, right, okay, we've got to the stage where I've got to teach you how to sell like a car salesman. And people are like, oh my God. But, people think that that's the only way of selling, but medics are actually really good at selling ideas. They do it every 10 minutes in a surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, just see it in the same way and everything becomes easier, and you're not a dick. I will finish every conversation with that.
As this video promptly gets banned from YouTube for a dick in violation. So yeah, it's like, how many times has it got it on there? But that's one bit that I'm actively learning now in terms of, as part of our doc support offer, I've done one-to-one sessions. I had an old consultant he was my consultant when I was a fifth-year medical student. He then, out of the blue, emailed me saying, Dave, I've seen what you've done with the YouTube. I've got my own channel. Can we have a one-to-one? We had a quick discovery call. He then said, I was getting really squeamish. I was going to do it all for free. And then thank God for Matthew, who was like saying, Dave, don't be a dick to yourself, because it's that. Yes. You don't then value yourself. If you're giving it away for free, you're not valuing yourself and you're being a dick to yourself. And it was like, no, what's our going rate? Charge. And then I said, like, here's my hourly rate. Here's here's a rough invoice. Here's our bank details. Thank you very much. Went silent for a couple of weeks. And then he said, Dave, I've had a look at it. It's probably 2 hours of work. I've paid it. Let me know when you can do it. And I was just like blown away, but I think that's where the discovery calls come in, why I'm passionate about YouTube and getting out there, is so that people can see who you are, see whether you're going to click with them or not. And then actually, so when it comes to these, when you're offering value, offering services, neither of you are wasting your time, because if, I appreciate I'm not going to click with everyone. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, big, loud, bald, whatever. There's going to be something that they don't like about me. And what was fantastic in terms of, so I was on Joe's, one of your webinars talking about YouTube, and I flagged up another YouTuber who helps other people, Virginia. She then, within an hour of the webinar ending, she messaged me saying, Dave, what have you done? Someone from, I believe, Joe's webinar has just messaged me saying that you offer this service. Thank you so much. And I was just like, brilliant. She's a very different personality to me. She's lovely. Go check her out. But again, it's sort of like, yes, we're in similar sort of spaces, but actually not everyone's going to want to work with me. And likewise, not everyone's going to work with her. Yeah. Simple as. Absolutely.
And that collaborative approach is something that I think medics struggle with as well. So we're in an environment within medicine and healthcare where we've actually been collaborating and networking and all of these words that we use in a business world. We've been doing that since we were, medical students. We've collaborated. We've worked in supportive environments. We've approached registrars. We've talked to consultants about possible career plans. We've had references. We've approached people for, all sorts of things. You take that out of the healthcare setting and suddenly people are terrified of the idea of reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn, sending messages, going to a networking event. Networking sort of sleazy and horrible sale. There's all of these sort of negative connotations that pretty much every medic I've ever spoken to has had some kind of cringe factor, including me back in the day.
Yeah.
My husband jokes with me that, I am at my happiest in a room full of people I've never met in my life. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love introducing people and like, you must talk to so-and-so. That's just what I do, whether I'm at a wedding, whether I'm at a kid's party or whether I'm at a business event. It's just me. That's what I do. But suddenly when I started in business, people said, oh, you're really good at networking. I was like, oh God, what a horrible thing.
It's like, oh, get it off me, get it off me. Yeah, it's sort of like, I'm not sleasy. Yeah.
Sort of gross, like, ugh. but I've now realized that actually that is one of my superpowers, and it's okay, and
Perfect.
it's great. And in medicine, it was brilliant. Everybody loved the fact that I knew the name of the cleaner and the
Mhm.
the porters all by name. Every single That's always my biggest piece of advice to medical students, is that every single person that works on that ward, you know their name, you know their family,
Yeah.
you know everything about them, and that's all I've ever stood for. And it's the same in business. So it's I don't know how I got onto
No, but I
that.
think you're right. It's sort of like, and I say this, I did a video with Matthew about it. Like, well, even me and Matthew, like, we played rugby together at medical school. We then drifted apart. This was pushing 10, 15 years ago. I'm showing my age a bit now. But it was only then, I was friendly with him. I wasn't a dick to him. We played on the same team. We would go out drinking, obviously. I'm not going to go into any more stories from that point. But then, I think it was on Facebook. He was doing one of his events, and I sort of liked it and shared it around. And then he said, "Oh, Dave," and then I wasn't a dick to him because I shared what he was doing. And then he said, like, "Oh, Dave, I think your expertise would be useful on one of my webinars." And the rest they say is history. And I think you're right. Certainly, I deal with a lot of medical students. And it's like, you may be around someone that could really help your future out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that every medical student needs to then set up a side hustle, but actually, like, if your consultant that you're sat in clinic room and it's 5 minutes in between has got a paper that they physically haven't got the time to write, and guess what, you've got a weekend free and you could probably knock out that paper for them, ask. But you're not going to know if you just sat quietly in the corner.
Oh
And
my
it
God.
is,
Yeah. I mean, this comes into this world of like proactivity, just send the email. This is like, absolutely, you've got to be in the room. You've got to put yourself forward and do things. And I think
yeah,
this is where there's the don't be a dick, passive, it's a balance between confidence and arrogance. Like nobody wants know it all, or somebody that's like, oh yeah, I've got the perfect answer to this, that, and the other. But you've got to believe in yourself. And actually, you touched on
absolutely.
something before about this whole, you had that conversation with your previous consultant, and it was 2 weeks before he got back to you. Now, your don't be a dick inner critic might have said, oh well, he hasn't messaged, he
Yeah,
hasn't emailed,
yeah.
he hasn't got back to me. Like, oh my God, I'm such a knob, what was I ever thinking? And actually what he's doing is just busy, and he hasn't quite
Mm.
got round to doing the bit that he was supposed to do before he absolutely wants your help. And this was where you go into this whole world of like, actually you've got to value yourself and what you do, understand the value that you bring to help somebody, and then be able to step away. If you're not for somebody, you don't get in a big strop about it. You
No.
don't kind of like, you don't talk badly to yourself about yourself, but you also don't behave badly. Like, if I've had an hour-long conversation with somebody as a discovery call, I have had a discovery call for 20 minutes that went on for an hour, probably more than an hour, and that person didn't choose to work with me at the end of it. I don't remember who they were. No idea. Like, what
Yeah,
difference to
like,
me?
move on. Yeah.
Yeah, move on. Doesn't bother me. But maybe there was a like tiny little bit of me that was like, are you serious? Like, that's not
Mm.
okay. But move on, because it's not my problem. So you have to just let things go. But you don't, all of the relationships that I have, that I value in business, have built up over a period of time of being supportive, being around people, understanding what people do, being able to kind of introduce people, and then leave it, and let that
Mm.
relationship develop. And not that whole, I don't know, is maybe that schoolyard mentality that, oh well, I introduced you to her and now you're working with her, and now you see other people in business doing that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I can see it. I can see it happening, and you sort of like, no, actually. And I think just taking that step back of a bit of pride in terms of like, well, yeah, I put those two together. Uh, Me and Ruth, it's got
Yeah,
to be one.
exactly.
Ruth was down to you. We were in the same. We were both on your webinar. She put a comment saying like, I want to do a YouTube channel. I then pounced on her unashamedly, and then she's now got her YouTube channel's blown up. Like
Yeah,
within 6 months, she's got something like 13,000 subscribers. She's got now a huge American audience that she didn't have before. But she wouldn't have got there. She wouldn't have even got to me without you. And then I've just added her next step, and it's
yeah,
sort of like, and it's amazing. And I think as well, going back to the don't be a dick, it's that if you know where someone's come from. So we did a video together. We did a massive chunk about how she'd worked with you first. So it was that recognition of the pathway of like, yeah, we wouldn't have met without Jo. You know, other videos and then other LinkedIn posts, I'll say, yeah, I've worked with Jo. Here's a tag. Go find her. You know, she added value to me. She'll probably add value to you. Go check her out. So it's that sort of,
which is lovely. And that, you know, I don't pay you to do
no, not at all. I'm not sure. I feel horrible. Like when you said like I had a 15-minute discovery call and not paid you, and it's like, I don't think I've paid you.
No, we haven't. We haven't paid
Sorry.
No, but you weren't supposed to, because it was back in the days when I was doing discovery calls, and that's great. And no, but that's what I mean. It's not about money. It's about, here's a great person with great energy doing great things. I want to support them, and that comes back to you. And I've got so many examples of this, but an example that came up last week for me was that, and I'll try not to make this too long-winded, but back in the day when I'd stopped selling granola and we'd bought this holiday let in West Wales, we had a huge business loan. We bought it as a business, and the plan was to run it as a business for 10 years and try and wash its face while we were able to keep using it with Granny. So a big, you know, family home that we'd used. Around that time, I was posting a lot on Twitter, a sort of hangover from the Bendy Legs granola. And Tanya Lynch, who runs a company called Ease Retreats now, who is a very good friend of mine now, she contacted me on Twitter and she said, oh, I've seen that you've bought this house. I need to run some retreats in West Wales. Can I come and meet you? So her and her partner came to meet us. It was nearly 10 years ago. And we had a cup of tea, and she asked whether I'd make some granola for her up and coming retreat. And I said, no, I've left those days behind me. But our relationship started from a tweet. Yeah. She then has become a big part of our life. And during the time of owning the house, she held lots of retreats there. So she kind of kept it running in the winter with these retreats. We then got to a point where our relationship became, actually, why don't you just stay there for the winter? Because it's nice that you're there. You can work, you know, you can work. Bill helps us with stuff around the house. Anyway, fast forward till we decided to sell the house in 2023. That phone call to Tanya was emotional. Like, she was in pieces about that we were selling this house. Like, she loves it. Like, you know, it's everything to her. She's run retreats. She was devastated, and she was like, I totally understand it's the right thing for you to do, but I am devastated. And I said, look, we've actually found this amazing family that are from Wales that are going to run it, and I'm going to tell them about you and Will, because you would be a real asset to the property. Awesome. And let's see if we can make this work. So when we had the sort of exchange, I zoomed with them how to run the business, client base, etc. And I said, look, Tanya and Will are epic. They love the place. They know it like the back of their hand. They will look after it for you in the winter. Here's their number. Why don't you get in touch? They got in touch. Turns out that Will and the guy that's bought the house have climbed Machu Picchu together on a charity event. Anyway, fast forward 2 years. Tanya's there more than she ever was. Will is going to renovate the house and has got the gig for the new extension. And they are more involved in that place than they ever were. And that's come about through a series of relationship building, hasn't it? And, you know, I'm not saying, oh, I wonderful that I've connected these people. But what I'm saying is Tanya's emotion and love for that place and the fact that she's then gone and been huge value to those new owners has then led them into a totally different relationship. And it's about me just like so proudly watching her coming and meeting with the architects. And, you know, we were camping on the little patch of grass, like waving up at her. And I was just nothing but thrilled that they're still part of the business. So I think being open to all of these possibilities in life, all of these conversations, follow up on them. If somebody offers to help you, thank them and send them an email and follow up on it. Like, be proactive while not being a dick.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful, beautiful place to sort of put a pause there. So to not be a dick, go and check out Jo on the Startup Surgery. Do this in this order. So do episode 32 if you like hearing my dulcet tones, because I interview Jo, which is awesome. It's a brilliant episode. Jo showing all about how to do from that aspect. Then, if you want to hear more from me, episode 30. And that what I would recommend is that you go on a long drive, you have a long weekend, and you start from episode 1 and work all the way up, because it's some phenomenal, just so much gold, so much insights in that podcast. Well, I was going to say series. It's more than a series now, sort of like just dominating there.
Yeah,
So
I'm just going to keep going now. I love it. That's so kind of you, but it's true. I love it.
So where's best to find you, Jo?
The podcast is a great start. And I think what the
Mhm.
podcast has allowed people to do is to, just like you said, I'm not for everybody. Okay. I am not a glossy, Instagram business coach that tells you how easy it is to earn 10 grand sitting in a hammock, not doing any work. Like, that is not me. I am proper real. I've been doing this for a long time, done lots of different businesses. I've got 4 kids. I totally understand the juggle, menopausal mad woman, long suffering husband, that kind of chat. But, I get it 100%. And I think if you listen to the podcast, you will see the relationships that I have with my clients,
Absolutely.
plus the collaborative relationships that I have with experts. There's a podcast that's launched this week with Lisa Bean, who I now sort of basically refer my clients onto when they're at a certain point, when they're ready. 37, that's episode 37. Another great episode, if you like online business, is episode 16 with Kate Toon, who is another example of not being a dick. She's a brilliant Australian real life business coach. So I am not for everybody, but if I am for you, or you hear something on the podcast and you think, actually, what I need is to be a part of this woman's life, then there are various ways of working with me. But I have a program which essentially brings medics into, usually females, but there are a couple of men in there, but brings people into a community whereby we all start supporting and helping each other. There is a course and a program that you work through, and then there's live coaching calls, Q&As, etc. And one-to-one work with me as well. And I have like this mini offer, which is for those people that are like super curious about this, think they want to start a business, not sure. So it's not career coaching, but it's basically dipping your toe in. Here are the episodes. This is what it's like working with me. This is what it's like having me WhatsApping you every Monday and Friday. Do you like this? No, I am doing one and I'm going back to my day job. Or actually, I'm quite into finding out more. So website's jowatkins.com. Find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place, really.
Yeah.
Sign up to my newsletter. I write it every Friday. And just reach out and just send me a message. Like, same with Dave. Like, we're all human and we're all happy to answer messages to direct you or point you in the right way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jo, for giving up your time. Really appreciate it. And hopefully me not being a dick. No, it's been great.